Good morning, Virginia. This is Martha Boneta, your host this morning on the John Fredericks Show. We are live here in beautiful Chesapeake, Virginia, and I have with me Emily Brewer. She's going to be Delegate Brewer very soon, and she will be the youngest GOP woman ever elected to the Virginia General Assembly. Good morning.
Good morning. This is so much fun. I mean, John goes out of town, and look what happens. Two ladies take over his studio. We're going to drive Michael Coleman crazy, I think, but it's okay.
Look at how many amazing, strong women leaders we've had on the show already today.
We're fortunate. We have an embarrassment of riches in Virginia.
Good morning, Virginia. This is Martha Boneta in for John Fredericks on the John Fredericks Show. Give us a call. We now have Jill Vogel on the line. She is joining us this morning. Senator Jill Vogel is a sitting state senator in the Commonwealth of Virginia and our candidate for lieutenant governor in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Jill Vogel is a mother. She's an entrepreneur, and she loves Virginia just as much as I do, which is a lot, if not more. And she is going to be a lieutenant governor for every Virginian. Welcome. Good morning, Jill Vogel.
Good morning. It's great to be with you guys. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy almost 4th of July.
That's right. That is right. Well, you know, Jill, wherever I go all over the Commonwealth, everybody just really loves you. They're excited about your race for lieutenant governor. There's a lot of enthusiasm out there. Folks are really excited about you being our next lieutenant governor in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And of course, we are thrilled to have you with us. I was hoping you could just tell us a little bit about the race, how it's going, and what folks can be excited about on the campaign trail.
Well, the race is going great. We have kicked it off right out of the box with, I think, a ton of energy. Really, a bunch of people who have been just super excited about getting a unified ticket. We've been all over Virginia. In fact, on Saturday we did a 7-stop tour.
Yes.
And we had great crowds and lots of enthusiasm and excitement. And my commitment as part of this ticket is, not only to talk about the issues that people care about, which is regulatory reform and an improved tax climate and improving the economy in Virginia and talking about higher ed and education,
yes,
transportation and infrastructure. They're the substantive issues that people want to talk about. But for my part also on this ticket, I am very, very eager for us to reach new people.
Yes.
And since you're talking about women, that includes women. And it's important for people to appreciate that we do have strong women in our party.
Absolutely.
We are a strong voice for women, for minorities, and for building a diverse party. And everywhere we stopped, it was so impressive what diverse groups of people turned out to be supportive of our ticket. And I think it speaks volumes to the levels of outreach that we have engaged in and the enormous amount of, I think, unity that people feel on our side for a message that reaches beyond just our typical Republican base, but it's reaching independents.
Yes.
And hopefully lots of the, the issues that I've been talking about, they really transcend party and they reach people, no matter what their political persuasion. And I hope that, more than just Republicans care about a well-managed state.
Yes.
And I feel very, very excited about the message that, our ticket has to deliver. So
absolutely.
We had a great day on Saturday. It was long and hot, but really fun.
Well, our party is the party of opportunity for all Virginians. And regardless of party affiliation, no matter where you come from, our party is the party of opportunity. And this ticket is the ticket for every Virginian. And, here's an issue that I wanted to ask you about. Last year, a bill was introduced, or I should say a bill was introduced to protect victims of domestic violence. The bill would have allowed for victims of domestic violence to not have to go through the waiting period in order to have a license to carry a gun. And
right.
it flew through my understanding is that it passed the House, it passed the Senate, and our Governor Terry McAuliffe, vetoed it. And I don't understand that, because this isn't even a partisan issue. It's about the safety of victims in domestic violence situations.
Well, it speaks perfectly to what we're talking about this morning.
Yeah.
The fact that we have strong women in our party who are voices for strong women, and also women who are victims of human trafficking, victims of domestic violence. And, we're strong voices for families.
Absolutely.
And so I cannot think of an issue that affects women more and families more than the issue of domestic violence. It touches so many families, and sometimes it is not spoken about. And so it was actually 2 years ago that I brought this bill to the Senate. And what was extraordinary was because of the incredibly compelling testimony that we heard in our Senate committee, there was no tinge really of partisanship. There was no issue of, gee, we have to make this now a gun issue. This was an issue of protecting women. And that bill flew out of the Senate committee. It had overwhelming support by Republicans and Democrats. And the woman who testified was a very, very close personal friend of mine who had been a victim of domestic violence for 26 years. And she had been tortured and terrorized by her husband, and she never felt that she had an opportunity to defend herself. And had she had the option when she went to court to have access to a mechanism, a means to defend herself, because part of the issue is some of these women are so controlled by the person that abuses them that they never feel like they have the opportunity. So in going to court and having a process whereby you have an expedited basically process to get your concealed carry permit, it just means that the women have this additional, level of empowerment. And what was tragic was the bill passed. It passed the full Senate. And because at that point, I was the co-patron of the bill that affected reciprocity. And you'll remember that was a huge issue.
Yes.
When the Attorney General took away everybody's reciprocity rights. And at that point, this then became a political issue because the governor obviously had lots and lots of pressure on him because he was about to, work through that reciprocity process and, work out a deal there. And so in the end, what we had was a governor who said, guess what? I'm not giving you this one. Excuse me. And everybody was devastated. And so he encouraged the people who had voted for it to flip.
That's right.
Those in his party. So it then became, sadly and tragically, for women who would be helped, a partisan issue. And the bill didn't make it back when it came back through. And so it passed again this year because it's a really practical, common sense way to protect women.
Yes, it is.
And he vetoed it. And, it's the kind of thing that I hope will give women pause. But these, again, are not partisan issues.
That's right.
These are issues of protecting women. And it really broke my heart and broke the hearts of so many women who saw this as, this is no great overreach. This is no wild, gun bill. The reality is that a woman can open carry already.
That's right.
But in many of those instances around small children or in a situation of domestic violence, finding themselves in a position where their only option is to open carry seems very, maybe to escalate the situation. So why not be able to conceal carry?
That's right.
And have your abuser know that you actually have the ability to protect yourself.
Absolutely. Jill, this is Emily. So this is really interesting. Domestic violence is a huge issue to me. I was actually previously on a board where I did a lot of work with domestic violence, and so many people don't realize, it affects not just women, men, children as well. I find this to be very, very interesting, but, and this is a crazy stat. Once a person usually obtains a protective order, the highest incidence of violence happens within the first 24 hours of that protective order,
right.
Which is so scary. So, it's not just women or men, it's children as well. So this is a no-nonsense, nonpartisan issue. And, I was very disappointed in the governor for vetoing this. So, just so
Emily,
unfortunate.
You speak exactly to the underlying rationale for the bill at all, which was in that very narrow window when women and the members of their household are the most vulnerable. That's all this bill sought to do.
That's right.
Was to give them the opportunity to have access to a concealed carry permit. It did not take away the obligation to go ahead and still do the permit application, the permit process. All of that stayed the same. So it just showed you that this really just became, it became highly politicized, and it was not really about protecting women. And what was really compelling is that I live in Fauquier County, and the victim's advocate that works in the sheriff's office drove to Richmond to stand there and testify and talk about the impact on women in those hours immediately after obtaining a protective order. What happens in those hours and days when it becomes a much more emotionally charged environment, and that is when women and children are, just as you said, the absolute most vulnerable.
Absolutely. And Jill, we were just speaking before you came on the show about how our party, the Republican Party, has strong leaders, strong women leaders. And if you recall the rhetoric, the narrative that was spun in the past, about, the war against women, and yet here we are, and we're fighting for this bill that was vetoed by our current governor, McAuliffe. And when you think about how, this bill helps so many women in these situations of domestic violence. And here we are fighting the good fight, to make sure that they're protected. And our governor, Terry McAuliffe, kills the bill.
Well, that's true. And I know Emily and I will both be, I'm sure, on the receiving end of some of that rhetoric.
Yes.
In campaigns this year.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we do everything in our power to push back. And I hope that, that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle will have learned a lesson from that, because I do think that, there's a bit of an overreach there. And I think that war on women, it can backfire, because
yes.
I think, in many ways, women find it really offensive.
It is.
And when the issue is played that way, especially when there are so many women in the Republican Party who work so hard on behalf of women, on behalf of women's health care, on behalf of, women who are heads of households, all the issues that we deal with. And I know that Emily fights for when it comes to the economy and taxes. Women are heads of households. They run
That's
businesses.
Right. That's exactly right.
Those are the issues that empower women as much as any other issue. And so, in races around this country, you've seen where they played that card.
Oh, yes.
It backfired.
Yes.
And I hope that, that our strong women voter, constituencies will appreciate how really hollow that is.
Absolutely. Jill Vogel, thank you so much. I have to tell you, I travel all over the state as well, and I know, and of course you are too, and people are so excited about you and you becoming our next lieutenant governor. We'll be calling you Lieutenant Governor Vogel instead of Senator Vogel. And I wanted you, just real briefly, this role is so important because the lieutenant governor, breaks the vote, right, in the Senate if there's a tie.
That's right. That's right.
And this is such an important role, and we are so excited. I can't wait till I can say, Lieutenant Governor Jill Vogel, thank you so much for being on our show. How can people help you with the campaign, volunteer their time, donate? How can they reach you?
They can go to vogelforvirginia.com, and you can sign up to volunteer. You can contribute. You can ask for a bumper sticker or a yard sign. You can be in touch, and we are so eager and so excited to have as many people who will support us and volunteer as possible. And I just want to say in closing, it is really my greatest honor to be a part of this ticket and to be the Lieutenant Governor nominee. And I also do not get to say, Emily, it's an honor to be on with you, and congratulations. I'm super, super excited for you, and I look forward to seeing you on the trail.
Thank you so much, Jill. I already have your son in my yard, and I look forward to seeing you in the ham capital soon.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.